What grossed you out so much in a relationship that you just left? Briefly, dated a girl who never cleaned her adult toys. It was something I missed the first few times we were together due to lighting, but once I did it was all I could do to not reg. I played it off like the batteries had died in it. Afterwards I took a peek at the rest of her collection and they were all the same, coated in crustiness. It wasn't a missed spot here or there either, shit had residue peeling and flaking off in big chunks, looking like the walls in an abandoned house. As far as I could tell she wasn't an otherwise dirty person either. The place was well kept and clean, and every time we were together it was clear she had either just taken a shower, or we would take one together as part of our pregame. Then again, I have anosmia and can't smell most things, so maybe she stank to hell and I just couldn't tell? Clean your toys, people. We were in one of many fights and I told him I needed space, so we hadn't talked in maybe a day. I get a text from a random number saying it was his sister and that he was in the hospital after a bad work accident. I ask which hospital, knowing that it is him texting me using a number app, lying about being injured. But you never know, maybe it's real. She tells me the name of the hospital and then sends me a picture of just his legs, which are bruised, but they looked like how his legs always looked. And then she says this is the last picture they took of him before he was life-flighted to the hospital. She said he had severe head trauma, a cracked skull, and his back was likely broken in several places. So, I called the hospital and asked if they had any patients by his name. They said no. I asked if anyone was life-flighted in the last few hours. They said no. I blocked the number and went to sleep. A few days later I got a text from another random number claiming to be his brother. He sends me a selfie of him in a hospital gown in an exam room at a doctor's office. He looked totally normal, no cracked skull or broken back. And it was cute because the room was ocean themed with crabs and fish on the walls. Anyway, the text said he was in the ICU, the crab room, and he had just woken up from a coma. Again, I ask which hospital and the brother refuses to tell me, saying he'll be released within the hour, so there's no point in a visit. I know it makes me sound like a bad person for not believing him, but this man lied to me on several occasions, told me he'd been shot, stabbed, poisoned. Also, his wife passed away and he told me two very different stories about how she died, which led me to believe he might have had something to do with it. So many red flags, and my mentally ill self was naive and lonely at that time in my life. Granted, this was a breaking point for me and I dove headfirst into therapy and never looked back. Dated a girl for a while, always seemed really well put together. Nice clothes, hair and makeup. We usually hooked up at my place. Went to her apartment once, the smell when she opened the door should have been enough. There were dirty diapers, overflowing trash cans in every room of the house. There was a super small walkway through the mounds of dirty clothes to the bathroom. And to make it worse, there were used paper plates on top of the mountain of dirty dishes in the sink. She proudly pointed out a moldy dish and said that it was from when she cooked dinner for two of our mutual friends 3 months prior. Noped the hell out of there. My sister was like this. She currently seems to be recovering, mostly due to the guy she's with right now, who is willing to help her make better habits. We grew up in a hoarder home, yes, like the TV show. She and I are the most normal out of the 4 kids our parents had. I learned how to clean up after myself by joining a minimalist Christian cult after high school. It's a long story. Our brother lives in his car and our sister lives in an adult foster home. You never know why people are fucked up. It's not your job to help them and it's okay to leave. But I think her guy is so good because he had a terrible childhood, too, so he gets it. Edit for the curious, when I was almost 18, I joined a group that was calling itself the JCs, short for Jesus Christians. Now they are known on the internet as Avid, a voice in the desert. They started in Australia in the 80s and are characterized by small nomadic teams around the world that spend their days proselytizing their literature and asking for donations. The funds go towards their RV lifestyle and their good works, e.g. food and language programs, in countries like Kenya and India. I spent 3 years officially a member and was in touch for many years after, even to the point of marrying an ex-member. Look at my other comments and you will see how well that went. I divorced him after 4 years and moved back to my home state. After years of school and therapy, I am a successful cancer nurse with a loving long-term partner in my very own, clean and tidy, house. Thanks for reading. I'm late to the party, but there was a guy in my social circle that I had crazy sexual tension with. Nothing happened for the longest time. Then one day we bumped into each other in the city, had a few drinks. The tension was unbearable and we went back to his place. An aside, I'd never had that kind of casual sex before. I'm the sort of person that needs to be in a relationship. But the chemistry with him was so intense, he was an exception. So we get to his place. Tearing off each other's clothes. He lies me down on the bed, pulls my panties off, and sees my vagina for the first time. Wanna know what he fucking said? He breathlessly said, "Oh my god, you look like a little girl. You're perfect." What the fuck? I didn't know what to say except wait and sort of pushed him away from me. He was confused. I wasn't about to explain. I called a cab home and it was exceptionally awkward. Pardon my French, but what the fuck? She was jealous of me spending time with my sister and implied our relationship wasn't normal. I was so grossed out by the implication. Dumped her the best day. My ex flat out accused me of fucking my cousin because one day my cousin happened to be in town and we met up and we gave each other a huge hug because her and I grew up together and survived some pretty horrific abuse and we were our only support for each other, so we of course bonded deeply because of the connection. And at the time this took place I had not seen this cousin in over 10 years because she moved to the other side of the country, so we both of course missed each other since we had always been so close, and bonds formed under pressure like that are really strong. My girlfriend pulled me aside and started chewing me out saying I hugged her too long, at which point I just said, "I'm not having this discussion, feel free to leave if you don't like it." The next day she accused me, publicly I might add, of fucking my cousin because she found my cousin in my bed, completely ignoring the fact that I literally told my girlfriend my cousin was staying with me and that I was giving her my room and I would be sleeping on the couch. I was fucking fuming. It was two separate incidents, but long story short, one night she got super drunk at my sister-in-law's house. After spilling a second glass of red wine on my Sil's white carpet, we opted to move her glass further away from the edge of the table. As soon as we left, she screamed, like full-fledged raged, at me for not defending her. The very next time we were together, she got drunk again and accused me of trying to cheat on her. I've never cheated on anyone, and threw her purse at me. Let things calm down and explained to her that I grew up in a house chock full of domestic violence and that was an absolute line in the sand. And for that reason, I was out. Spoken like a true shark. He showed me, with excitement, a box of things he'd been collecting for me without my knowledge. This included strands of my hair taped up neatly, bobby pins and hairpins I had in from prom, my fingerprints and saliva sample that he took out of the trash from our forensics class experiments. He thought this was a romantic gesture or something, but it just made me really realize how creepy and obsessive he is. He was also very controlling and got jealous/mad at me for hanging out with my sister, or spending time on my laptop or with my dog. And he also admitted to me that he stalked my FB interests to pretend he knew and liked what I liked, researching the games I played and music I listened to so he could bring it up in conversation. Total psycho. Was your boyfriend Joe Goldberg?